This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Mark Magnuson.
Hello and welcome into Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today is Monday, April 17th, 2023, and we're so glad you could join us for today's show. And in today's episode, we have the latest edition of Between the Pods. I will be joined by Brent Swart. He is District 1 Director with the Iowa Soybean Association. We will also have a check of the ag weather outlook, but first, let's run down the markets.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
At the end of another trading day, we are joined now by Robin Schmahl of agmarket.net for our closing market analysis. Robin, what did we see in the grain markets today?
Well, what we saw today was a higher across the board. There wasn't any contract or any category that was lower. Started out a little mediocre. We were kind of, mixed overnight trade in corn. But then we really started gaining some legs under that market. And I think a lot of that had to do with the colder weather, anticipating a slowdown in planting pace. Now, really, that's not going to make a big difference to the market per se, but it is a perception in the market with the colder weather, some snow in some areas, slowing down some planting progress. Now, export inspections where corn were good. 47.8 million bushels. That was up 14.8 million bushels from a week ago. So that was good. China was buying some corn. That's always a positive thing to the market. Beans, not so good. Wheat, not so good. Beans are at 19.3 million bushels, down 5.6 million bushels from last week. Wheat was 8.8 million bushels, down 5.5 million bushels from last week. So not really a lot of support coming from that, but the support came from what I had mentioned earlier as far as the weather is concerned. And today we're going to see the first planting progress of soybeans. They're anticipating maybe slightly ahead of the 5-year average. And that's probably so because there's more and more and more of a push for farmers to plant soybeans early. They plant soybeans many times earlier than they plant corn for better yields. So that's been more of a push that's been happening now. Brazilian soybean harvest is at 86.2% complete right now. Their bean exports are estimated at 94 million tons, and that's going to be up 19% from a year ago if that comes to fruition of what they're estimating right now. Probably some of the support also, what didn't take place last night initially, the news came out, but it did gain some traction during the day as Hungary and Poland announced that they're going to halt Ukrainian agricultural imports because they've been a conduit since the Russian war, and they've had some duty-free imports coming in to distribute to other countries. Well, what's happening now is it's kind of building up in those countries, and it's putting some of their farmers at risk. So what they're terming as a crisis of agriculture. But this ban is temporary to June 30th. However, the EU is not going along. They're not recognizing the ban. So I don't really know what's going to happen there, but that may have provided also some support underneath this market. So we're looking at a strong beginning to the week that may carry over a little bit more tomorrow, unless we see a little bit of change in the weather forecast. We see some good planting progress, maybe better than we had anticipated.
Robin, on the other side of the ag marketplace, what happened in the livestock markets today?
Well, livestock markets were higher as well. We had 2 days of a little setback in the cattle market, which was surprising because of the strong cash last week. We had in the southern cattle trade at $7 higher on average last week. Northern cattle, dressed cattle, up as much as $11 last week. That was just incredible. Jump in cash last week as packers had to become fairly aggressive. Now, feedlots are going to be gunning for more this week. There's no doubt about that. Box beef was strong last week. Overall last week, choice was up $9.45. Select were cuts were up $5.36. Now at the midday print today, choice was again higher, $2.90 with select up $5.54. So it doesn't give an impression that domestic demand is slowing down at this point in time. So we reversed that market from the weakness going into the close on Friday to going higher today again. So it's regaining that ground it had lost there temporarily. I don't think that we're going to see any real pulling back by the packers. However, 25% of the cattle that were purchased last week are for deferred delivery. So that's kind of surprising based on the shortness they had. And they were looking at immediate delivery last week from the cattle from the week before. Now they've got some deferred delivery in there. So I don't know if they're might be going to try to slow down some slaughter. We'll see that as it unfolds more this week. Now, hogs closed higher both Friday and today. Now, Friday might have been more so because of some positioning ahead of the weekend. Commitment of traders showed a net short futures position again this last week for the commitment of traders. So that's kind of a negative situation, which makes the funds comfortable holding those short positions. But now we've seen 2 days of increase. We had a little bit higher cutout values on Friday, not a big deal. The national direct cash price was a little lower on Friday. Today, we didn't see the national direct price for midday because of packer submission issues, but we did see cutouts at midday up $1.23. Hopefully that'll hold. But one of the big things maybe in hogs is that traders at this level, at this point in time, may be unwilling to really press the downside in that market. And that's maybe why we're seeing a little bit more of the short covering taking place. But we have to see more steadiness, more support in the cutout values to really get some legs under this market.
Robin Schmahl, our guest here today. Robin, how can our viewers get in touch for more great marketing information?
They can call me directly at 877-256-3253 or go to agmarket.net. Our number is there. They can call in and any of the available brokers will be able to answer your questions.
Robin, thank you for the time today on this Monday. Have a great day and we'll talk again soon.
All right. Thank you. It's always a pleasure being on.
That was Robin Schmahl with agmarket.net with our closing analysis today. Thank you to Robin. Let's turn our attention now to the closing numbers, courtesy of the folks at Bar Chart.
May corn is up 10 1/4 at 676 1/2. New crop December corn up 6 3/4 at 566 3/4. May soybeans up 16 1/2 at 15.17 even. New crop November soybeans up 10 even at 13.11 1/2. May soybean meal is up 6 even at 465.70. May soybean oil up 91 cents at 54.57. Chicago wheat up 14 3/4 at 707 1/4. Minneapolis wheat up 15 1/4 at 884 1/2. Kansas hard red wheat up 13 1/4 at 876 1/2. July oats up 5 1/2 at 337 1/2. On the Merc, April live cattle up $1 even at 175.75. April feeder cattle down a half cent at 179.57. April lean hogs up 12 cents at 71.87. April pork cutout down 17 cents at 77.50.
And that's been a check of the Ag Market Recap here on Ag Matters PM. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. And when we come back, I will be joined by Brent Swart. He is District 1 Director with the Iowa Soybean Association. This is AMPM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today is the latest edition of Between the Pods. I will be joined by Brent Swart, District 1 Director with the Iowa Soybean Association.
It's time to go between the pods with the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network and the Iowa Soybean Association. For the next year, we will explore the ways Iowa-grown soybeans are making a difference at home and around the world. Now, here's your host of Between the Pods, Mark Magnuson.
Mark Magnuson with the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and I'm joined now by Brent Swart. He is the District 1 Director with the Iowa Soybean Association. For those who don't know, that's northwest Iowa near Spencer. He's from the Dickens area. And Brent, last year we learned a lot of lessons about the differences you can see in just one state in weather. And northwest Iowa certainly was on the rough end of that with the drought. Eastern Iowa, not so much. What were the takeaways from last year in that wide disparity, do you think?
Yeah, a lot of takeaways from 2022 and the fact that, Mother Nature can be a pretty fickle thing and relying on getting that moisture at the right time. Amazingly, with how dry we were, with the drought, that kind of extreme drought in parts of northwest Iowa, we still received fairly good yields. Given the amount of rain that we had. In some areas only had like 9 inches of rain for the growing season, which is way below normal, but it was really the timing of those rains that was critical for us to have a near average crop, to get those rains at a critical time in the growing season for both the corn and soybean crops, in that kind of July 4th time frame, and then that mid-August time frame that really kind of carried us through. And the other thing that really helped us in 2022 is we started out with a pretty good soil moisture profile, which got us off to a good start.
And also the name of the game, right? I mean, when it comes to that, the fact that those plants were able to survive throughout that dry season and produce a decent yield comes back to just the great genetics that are available now and some of the hybrids that are available, the ability to withstand that stress.
Yeah, a lot of the technology we're employing on the farm now, both in the genetics as well as our management practices with cover crops and no-till and strip till and some of the soil conservation practices we're utilizing right now, is really a tribute to how we've advanced as farmers and as an industry to kind of buffer the effects of the weather.
Brent, now we turn our attention to planting season 2023. We are here at Commodity Classic today, middle of March, but we're getting close. What are you looking towards as we get ready for planting season?
Well, obviously we've continued to monitor the weather situation throughout the winter. We came out of fall through harvest season extremely dry. I know Iowa State does a soil profile moisture reading in the fall, and I know in northwest Iowa where we farm, I think we are at 1.6 inches of moisture throughout the 5-foot soil profile, which is like 15% of normal. So we're extremely dry, and most people hadn't seen it that dry. But the weather patterns have changed a little bit. We've gotten some nice snows throughout the winter, which is tough to deal with, but it's nice to see that moisture pattern coming back into our area. And so we think heading into the 2023 growing season, we're going to have at least enough moisture to get things started out right. The climatologists we've talked to over the winter here would indicate that there's probably going to be a bit of a weakening or softening of the La Nina, maybe go back towards a neutral type of pattern there with that indicator. And so hopefully by midsummer, when the crops are really taking off, we can get back into a better moisture pattern, and that would lead to some really good yields for us, I think, if that comes to fruition.
Brent, every conference it feels like that I've been to this winter, a farm conference, an ag conference, it seems like there's someone there that is talking about planting earlier. Am I crazy about that? Has that been more of a trend in recent last few years, as specifically talking about planting soybeans earlier?
Yeah, definitely. It's been a trend, and it's been a really positive trend. I think if you look at the data, Mark, and we look at soybeans compared to corn, and we look at how they respond to earlier planting, soybeans are extremely consistent. If we plant them early, they're going to give us more yield. And the risk of planting soybeans early is pretty small from a financial standpoint for the farmer. So a lot of agronomists have encouraged farmers to look at planting soybeans before corn, or if you have two planters, to get started at the same time, because corn can be a bit more finicky given the weather conditions of the spring, where soybeans are a lot more adaptable and they can get through those tougher spring conditions and still produce 100% yield.
Brent, for our viewers at home, is there anything else you'd like to let them know about, something that you're excited with Iowa Soybean Association, just Iowa soybean in general?
Yeah, there's a lot of things to be excited about, I think, in the soybean industry right now, Mark. Obviously, one of the things I've been working on personally a lot is working in the biofuels industry and working with a lot of those industry folks to continue to push that envelope. As we look at soybeans as a potential feedstock for the biofuels industry, renewable diesel, sustainable aviation fuel, there's a lot of excitement that can be talked about with potential usage there. And so our goal is to use more of those soybeans that we grow locally. Just in northern Iowa alone, there's going to be 2 new crush plants, soybean crush plants, to produce some oil for that growing industry. And we think in the state of Iowa we could grow the crush industry by 30% over the next few years. And that what that does for our demand of soybeans is really incredible. So we really hope we can continue to help that industry forward, help that demand for soybeans locally. And obviously we got a lot of work to do in Washington, D.C. with respect to that, with the new RFS, and making sure they get those that RVO set rule correct and that usage volume correct. And right now, the initial indications they've given us is that it's probably low, quite a bit low. And so we're working with folks in Washington to help them understand the kind of capacity we have right now, and that we don't want these federal regulations to come out to stifle that growth capacity at all. And so if we can use more of this domestic production here locally, that would be a good thing for everyone in the U.S.
He is Brent Swart. He is the District 1 Director with the Iowa Soybean Association. Brent, thank you so much for the time, and have a great rest of the Commodity Classic show.
Thanks, Mark. You too.
That was Brent Swart, District 1 Director with the Iowa Soybean Association. Let's turn our attention now to the ag weather outlook. Very much a mid-April day here today in the state of Iowa. A nice day outside, but not the warmest, and it is also pretty breezy and windy, so it has a little bit of a cool side to the temperature today. Tonight it will be cool as well, as we're going to have mostly clear skies, but cooler temperatures. And then tomorrow, sunny and breezy again, a little bit warmer temperatures than we're having here today on Monday. So let's turn our attention now to the National Weather Service and what's in store for the next 24 hours.
As you can see from the National Weather Service, mostly sunny and breezy today. High temperatures anywhere from 47 to 65 across the state. Tonight, mostly clear, but cool temperatures with lows 28 to 40 degrees. Tomorrow, a little bit of a warm-up, a warmer day, sunny and breezy once again as the winds will continue. High temperatures ranging across the state from 59 to 74. And looking at our affiliate weather map for tomorrow now, Cherokee mostly sunny with a high around 64. Shenandoah, the warm spot on the map, mostly sunny and 74 for Tuesday. Des Moines mostly sunny and 67. Albia mostly sunny and 66. In Waterloo on Tuesday, partly cloudy and a high around 60. Clinton partly cloudy with a high around 59.
For a more detailed forecast in your part of the state, make sure and check with your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate. And that's been a check of the Ag Weather Outlook. That also brings us to the end of this episode of Ag Matters PM. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and LinkedIn. You can find all of our video content and previous episodes of AMPM on our YouTube channel. And don't forget our free twice daily market podcast, which are found on Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the IARN studios in Des Moines, I'm Mark Magnuson. On behalf of Riley Smith and Dustin Huffman, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.